In this video,
We're going to talk about how to safely move your money.
to the Philippines.
Stay tuned. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about.
We sure do.
This topic is very concerning to a lot of people. And I guess it makes a lot of sense because it's your retirement money. So people who are either visiting the Philippines or maybe just moving here for a finite amount of time, or you're like us, that you retired full time and building a house, which is obviously a little more complicated. The topic touches everybody. So what has worked for us may not work for you. And then something that we may never do may be something that you're doing now and it works perfect for you. So there is a lot of different options, and I just wanted to share that with everybody. But first, I want to talk about what we did in the U.S. in preparation for moving to the Philippines. So obviously, Wilma and I had a joint savings account, checking account, debit card, a couple of credit cards through our bank, as well as a third-party credit card. That's what we had in the U.S. So what we did was we made an appointment with our bank, and I think it's also important to know that you should do business with a large bank, like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase. Call it a bank that's too big to fail. So we made an appointment with our bank and sat down with them and explained to them a couple of months before we moved here to give plenty of time for them to do what they needed to do. And we told them that we were on a full-time basis moving to the Philippines. And they said, that's not a problem, happens all the time, it would not be an issue. What we did was probably a little different from what many people do, is we took our savings account, our checking account, and our credit cards with that bank, because I had one credit card through our bank in my name, with Wilma having a card to use. And then we also had another account with a credit card in Wilma's name, and I had a card that I could use. And that's so, as we used our credit cards throughout the years in the US, we were building both our credits. So we sat down with them and said, we want to basically open all new accounts. So we wanted to open a new savings account with a new number, a new checking account. We want 2 new credit cards, a new debit card with all new numbers. They did that for us, no problem.
Yes.
And then once they were established, then we transferred all our money over to the appropriate accounts. And then we canceled all the old accounts.
Yes.
That's how we wanted to do it. We wanted a clean break, and we didn't want an account that was out there for many, many years that we have used with many, many businesses, and then we're over here and then there's an issue. We wanted all new accounts and just transfer the money over. So that's the first thing that we did. Also, the benefit is with the credit cards, is that when you have a new credit card, it establishes a new number. So again, less risk, it's never been used before. The newer credit cards have chips in it, which is just another layer of security. If you have an old card that doesn't have a chip, you might want to get a new one. And then also the expiration date are all the same. So I didn't want to come here with my credit card from the US that we rarely use, but it expires in 1 year, 2 years. We wanted all our cards to be the furthest out it could be, meaning we established a new account and it gives us the full amount of time. So we did all that work in the US. So now that we're here, there's different ways to send money. And what we started out with is what you would probably do for a first-time visitor or a first-time living in the Philippines is you would just transfer money using Zoom, Remitly, Wise, all good companies.
Western Union.
Western Union is
Yeah.
another one, good point, because we do use Western
I
Union.
do that.
Yeah.
Send money to my mom.
Yep. We use Western Union to send money to Leti every month. But basically, it's very important to have those establishments set up. Very easy. You do it online. You use your smartphone. You go on Play Store or the Apple Store and you download, say, Zoom. And you set up the account. You link it with your checking account, for example. And then you can very easily just send money from the U.S. Through, say, Zoom, and then you can pick a bank or what is it, M-Lawyer?
M-Lawyer or Palawan.
Palawan. There's plenty of establishments where you can just send money to yourself.
Yeah.
You just go to that establishment, show them your information, and then they just give you cash. And then you have enough cash for a set amount of time. So early on, that's probably a smart way to handle it.
Yeah, because you have to establish your bank account here in the Philippines. It takes time.
It takes time. That's another good point.
Yes.
So then what we did was, Wilma's a dual citizen, so she obviously has a Philippine passport as well as a U.S. passport. We wanted to open a bank account in the Philippines because we were looking to buy land, buy a truck, pay
Buy a
and build a
scooter.
house, buy a scooter. So it was going to be larger chunks of money, and we didn't want to do that through Zoom. Imagine transferring $50,000 US to Zoom, going to Palawan and say, I'm here to pick up a lot of money. They would have to actually request extra money because you'd clean them out, and then you'd have suitcases full of money, just a big risk. So we wanted to establish a bank account. So the way we did it was, we opened a bank account right away in the Philippines. Wilma had her IDs, passport, things like that. She's a citizen of the Philippines. So she could open up an account immediately. We opened a dollar account and a peso account, got established. Also, we downloaded from the Play Store the Philippine Bank online banking, as well as our bank in the US, online banking on your smartphone. And I also want to mention it's very smart to have your online banking apps on multiple devices, at least two. So on Wilma's phone as well as my phone, you want to have your US online banking or your home country, and then your Philippine online banking on Wilma's smartphone, for example, as well as mine. Because if you drop your phone in the pool and you can't get to it, you can't access your money. At least you can't transfer money on your phone until you get a new phone, download all the new apps like I had to do, and fire it all up. I would also mention it's probably a good idea to have access to your phone by more than one person. Now again, everyone's an individual. If you're here as a bachelor, obviously you wouldn't do that. But if you're a married couple, my phone fingerprint, my fingerprint starts the phone as well as facial recognition. I added another person, handed it to Wilma, she put her fingerprint and her face. So now if something happens to me and I'm in the hospital, she can just simply use her fingerprint and her face, and she can get on my phone and access the accounts. That's just for an example. You may not want to do that, but consider that, having multiple phones. So when we first got here, the accounts was in Wilma's name. Now, I had to get a Philippine driver's license, so did Wilma, but I had to get a Philippine driver's license, and after 6 months, this is very important, you will apply for your ACR card. Once you get your ACR card, which you're eligible to get after being in the Philippines for 6 continuous months, that is considered an ID card that's accepted as a foreigner to a Philippine bank. So then we went back to our Philippine bank, said, here's my Philippine driver's license, here's my American passport, and here is my ACR card. Once you show the bank that ACR card, my name now goes on to the bank account, and it's a joint account.
Yeah.
Very important that you do that, but it does take 6 months. So now you're established with a Philippine bank account, dollar and peso account. So now in our case, and a lot of you that move to the Philippines are looking to maybe buy a vehicle or buy a piece of property, so you need to move larger chunks of money. So what we simply do is we set it up online, and I'll tell you, Wilma's in charge of all the banking in the house. She does a great job. As a matter of fact, Wilma pays my mom's bills.
Yes, online.
My mom uses Amazon like crazy. She's always buying stuff. And at the end of the month, Wilma always looks on the account, see how much money my mom spent. And then Wilma does the online banking because my mom and us share the same bank in the U.S. And Wilma pays her bills. So
Yeah.
she's very, very good at it.
Yeah.
No problems,
Which
right?
that remind me, I had to go into her account and check for that bill. I think it's time.
Yeah. So it's real important that you have all that established. So now, say you want to buy a vehicle and it's 1.5 million pesos. So that's about $28,000. Big chunk of money. Again, you don't want to send that to through Zoom. That's too risky. And they're probably not going to have that much.
They probably have a limit.
They have a limit, yeah. You're not going to be able to get that much money. So we transfer that large amount. What Wilma does is goes on the American Bank online banking and sets up an international wire transfer. It's very, very simple. This is the 21st century. You can do everything from your cell phone.
From your thumbnail.
Yeah, it's very, very easy. A wire transfer for us, $5.
Yes.
That's the charge. If I transfer for, say, this house, $100,000, $5
It don't matter
to
how much
transfer.
is the amount.
Very, very cheap. Goes through very fast, but here's a tip. Get to know the manager of the bank in the Philippines. We did that in Leyte, and we did that here in Dumaguete. The reason for that, the Philippines is very strict on large chunks of money coming in to the Philippines.
Just of the laundry.
Money laundering,
Okay.
maybe I'm a drug dealer, who knows. So what they do is when the money gets transferred from my bank in the US to the Philippines, it goes through very quick. And remember, there's 12 hours difference, but basically one day, one business day, it's transferred. It goes to the main bank in Manila for all the banks here in the Philippines. And they hold on to that money until they email, and that's what we were told by 2 bank managers. They will email the local branch and say, we just had a large wire transfer, and the example I just used, it was $28,000 US from Wilma and Greg. And what they do is the bank manager will have to confirm what that money is for. So what you do is if you have that establishment, and Wilma's Facebook friends with both managers, we would just simply say, hey, we're getting ready to transfer 28,000 US, we're getting ready to buy a vehicle. You send that to the bank manager gets that message, knows about it. When the email comes in, the manager can read the email and say, okay, I know all about it. They email back to the main office in Manila and says, no problem, send it through. Literally, we've done that, and within 30, 40 minutes, the money is in the home branch.
Yeah.
The wire transfer went through successfully. and now it's sitting in your dollar account. Now, what we do is the fact that we do online banking as well here in the Philippines is we watch the peso to dollar rate. Right now it's hovering around 57. So what we do is we leave the money in the dollar account until we think the ratio is the best. So say it goes to 58 and we say, hey, we don't think it's going to go any higher for a while. That's when we'll transfer over to the peso account, because you will be surprised how much money you can make by just waiting. So think about it, 28,000, if it goes up just 1 peso, that's 28,000 pesos.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's like $450 that you just made by just letting that peso go up one peso. What's wrong with making $450 for doing absolutely nothing but just watching that number? So that's how we handle it. And I also will mention one thing that I forgot to mention earlier. What we do, and it's probably not needed, what we do is we keep our money in a savings account, but we never transfer from that savings account.
No.
We have another checking account where we keep almost no money, the bare minimum. So when we want to wire transfer to the US, what we do is we transfer what we want to transfer, say it's $2,000. We transfer from our savings account to the checking account. So now say we have $500 in there, we transfer 2,000, it's 2,500. And then we transfer from that smaller account to the Philippine bank. We do that just in case if there's any hackers and they try to hack my US account, they hack the smaller account, not the larger account. I don't know if that means anything, but we said we always wanted to do that, and that's what we've always done. The account with the larger amount, we never transfer from, just transfer within the bank. So that's a little tip for you guys. The last thing is VPN.
Very important to have VPN.
She's very strict
Yes.
when it comes to VPN. She's always telling me, do you have your VPN on? Because that is another layer of protection. Is it foolproof? Of course not. But it's another layer of protection. So you keep your VPN all the time.
All the time, unless
Wonderful.
I wanna, do a Philippine
Transfer.
transfer or searching.
Okay, then you'll take the VPN
Yeah, because
off.
sometimes they don't allow you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. So having a good VPN, we happen to use Nord in the research that we did, and we had a neighbor, Sue, great neighbor in the US. She's a programmer, and she recommended Nord. That's what she used. So we went ahead and did a 3-year deal with Nord. We just upped it because the 3 years was up. We have Nord on all our devices, our cell phones, our TVs, our smart TVs, as well as our laptops, just for another layer of protection. So when you're getting ready to do any online banking or even doing an inquiry to your account, put your VPN on, then go onto the app to look at your money. Again, is it foolproof? Probably not, but it's very smart to do so. So that's how we handle our transfers. We've been getting a lot of requests. As a matter of fact, just this morning, Wilma and I were talking yesterday that we wanted to do a video about banking and how we transfer money. And just this morning we got up and I got an email from someone in the US who's saying they're getting ready to move to the Philippines and wanted some information of how we handled it. Now there's obviously different ways of doing it, but that's how we do it.
Yeah, especially if you're building a home or buying a property, buying a vehicle,
Yes.
and that's a big amount of money that you need to transfer. So you need to
Wire from
your
home bank
yes.
to a Philippine bank.
Yes.
Very, very important. Also, when you open up an account, they give you an ATM card here in the Philippines. So we keep money in our dollar account here in the Philippines as well as peso account. And we draw our monthly budget from the Philippine peso account. How do we do that? With our ATM card. Our bank allows us to take 1,000 US dollars per day. So if we need to get $1,000, we just simply go to our bank's ATM, or you can use another ATM for a nominal fee.
15 peso
yeah.
first transaction.
Yeah, very cheap. 15
Yeah.
pesos is like 27 cents.
Yeah.
So if you happen to be somewhere and you're out of cash and your bank's ATM is not around, you can use another bank with your Philippine ATM card, and they charge you like 27 cents for that transaction. Very, very cheap. Now, with our US credit cards, obviously, and we have three. We have one in my name with our bank, one in Wilma's name with her bank, same banks, and then we have a third party. We thought it was important to not put all our eggs in one basket with one bank. We also have a third party credit card just to have. So we basically have three credit cards. So what we do is we don't use them here, but we do use them monthly. We have one for our Amazon account, so when we buy something on Amazon, it gets charged. We also have Spotify, which is our music.
Yes.
We have the
Netflix.
and Netflix. So Spotify, Netflix, and we also have Hulu. So we spread that out over the three cards, so they're always getting monthly a transaction. I'm not a banker, but I would imagine if you have a credit card and you just never use it, you probably start losing your credit limit. Yeah, your credit limit. So we said we'll use our US credit cards for those various things, Spotify, Netflix, and spread it out. We didn't want to put it all into one credit card, spread it out, so at least they're being used every month. But when it comes to money here, if we need a banker's or manager's check for a large purchase, or just our monthly budget, say like when I bought my cell phone, it was $435. We went to our bank's ATM, used our Philippine ATM, took out the money, went and bought the phone. We do all those transactions here in the Philippines because there's no transaction fee. You always got to try to find where there's small fees or no fees, because every dollar counts.
Yes.
Right? So I hope that helps. Good VPN, have everything on your phone, multiple phones, facial recognition, not just passcodes, fingerprint, transfer at the right time, very cheap, $5 a transfer. Takes 6 months to establish a foreigner to have a bank account with an ACR card. All little things that we had to navigate in our first year here, we wanted to share with you because it may help you, especially for large purchases like Wilma said. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this video.